Welcome to Three Witches and a Druid podcast, a Canadian podcast about paganism in today's modern society.
Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, bound to go away. Cheeks as red as a blooming rose, eyes the prettiest brown. She's the darling of my heart, prettiest girl in town. Went to see my Shady Grove, she was standing in the door. Shoes and stockings in her hand, her bare feet on the floor. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, bound to go away. Wish I had a big fine horse, corn to feed him on. Shady Grove could stay at home, feed him when I'm gone. If I had no horse to ride, I'd be found a crawling up and down that rocky road, going to see my darling. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, bound to go away. I wish I had a glass of wine, bread and meat for two. I put it on a golden plate and give it all to you. Peaches in the summertime, apples in the fall. If I can't have my Shady Grove, I don't want none at all. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, bound to go away. Shady Grove, my little love, Shady Grove, I say. Shady Grove, my little love, I'm bound to go away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this edition of Three Witches and a Druid, where we are so far one bottle of wine in. So it makes it much more interesting.
And some tequila.
The second episode is always better.
Yeah. Depending on your scale of how you judge things.
Yes.
Where we sit around drinking assorted liquors and discussing our lives as modern pagans. Our lives and opinions and experiences.
Oh, yes. This is not a factual show
no,
in any way.
this is not a DIY by any means whatsoever. Yeah. This is not instructional. It's, I don't know.
It's cautionary. It's cautionary tale. So it is instructional somehow. Any ritual where no one catches on fire is a good ritual.
Yes. I am Margot.
And I am Maeve.
Gwen.
And I'm Brian. So today is going to be the start of a little series we're going to probably do this season called Tools. What to do with them, how to use them.
And we're not talking about that guy that you just dumped either.
Yes, not him. So the first tool we're going to talk about is less physical, and we're going to talk about the Wheel of the Year. Dun, dun, dun.
So as has been mentioned often in the past, we're of an age and a generation, so we don't always get the issues with the Wheel of the Year, but we are aware enough of the zeitgeist that some people have problems with the Wheel of the Year.
Well,
And-
pretty much I tell them what TikTok is saying.
Yeah.
Well, the nutty thing is somebody please explain to me what the problem with the Wheel of the Year is.
The argument is that it doesn't apply in North America because the Wheel of the Year is based off
British
seasonal,
agrarian
yeah.
seasonal stuff.
Well, my answer to that is the solstices and the equinoxes are the same regardless of where you are in the world.
Preaching
Well,
to the choir.
In
honey.
all honesty, it's really just the winter spring. That's the issue.
I think also maybe things like Lammas, Lunasa, all those sorts of really based on harvest, planting practices. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Maybe.
I got all kinds of things to say now.
All right.
Go for it.
Yes.
That's
yes.
what you're here
like
for.
we say, wine and tequila in. Let's go. Mate.
Well, when you're saying about, the seasons and we're in the north. Okay. Imbolc, February the 2nd. Yes, we are still, winter didn't really get cooking here till February.
Yeah.
But you know what? The 5 weeks there's the 5 darkest weeks before winter solstice, and there's the 5 darkest weeks after winter solstice. We're over the hump by then.
Yeah.
It is getting lighter and lighter. Like just the other day, I looked out and said, oh my God, it's 10 after 6. It's not dark. There is the whole light concept. And because Imbolc is often thought of as fire, okay, we've gotten over that bad 5-week hump, but February can be harsh. March, we can still have ugly weather in March, but you know what? We've got that fire to cling on to, because it's a fire it is a fire festival.
It's a fire festival.
And the light is more. So even when you're like, oh my God, we just had 1.5 feet snow yesterday, it's still light at 10 after 6.
Yeah.
And not dark by 4:30. So for me, I think it does have relevance. And even though like equinox, we can still have foul weather and be scraping our car windows to get to wherever we're going, the days are now about to get longer than the nights. So now that I'm thinking about it, people say, oh, it doesn't matter here, but it does. Because people, especially anybody who may have seasonal affective disorder, I think that they start to feel better.
Yeah.
I find that those things can make you more hopeful. And when you are in the middle of effing February, because again, we've had a crummy February, you're still, in theory, able to get together with your friends and celebrate. I think we've gotten through the darkest part. We're going to get together because nothing rejuvenates you more than lots of food and your friends.
Just because you used Imbolc as an example, and this is because we're recording this at just slightly after Imbolc, it makes me think one of the things that I recommend when I teach this is that you want to embody your practice. You want it to be where you are here and now sort of thing. And here in Nova Scotia, the eagles are nesting in February. It's a really weird, it's not what normally people think about birds and animals and that sort of thing. But it's unique to us.
The ducks are lambs are born in February and March. So these things are happening.
When I think about the eagles, I think about the eagles came to me more because it's actually promoted provincially. It's a tourist thing. You can go to certain areas. They have eagle watch drives and that sort of thing.
So we've had an interruption and someone very rudely just knocked on the door and made their way into Gwen's home. You might as well introduce yourself.
Hi there, my name's Mike.
He showed up.
So Mike is, been here forever as a teenager.
You joined the community as a teenager many moons ago.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And Mike, you work at the Neighborhood Witch.
I do, yeah.
Which has moved locations, and it's just perfect you've arrived. Mike and I we've been around forever, and we've done rituals together, and this is excellent. What great
So now we've roped him into our episode, and we've just explained to him what we're talking about.
So I believe the statement was that the Wheel of the Year is no longer relevant in our...
Well, it's less relevant than it used to be, yes.
Yeah. In our...
That's what TikTok is saying.
Neck of the globe. I don't think that it's not relevant. I think just that the environmental changes that are happening has kind of shifted everything for us. So winter is not what winter used to be. growing up for me, I remember, neck height snow, taking snowmobiles across a lake, sometimes a car, right? Because the lakes would actually freeze
drive a car
much.
across that frozen lake. Yeah.
So we're just in a period of time where the environmental changes are affecting how we relate to the environment around us.
Yeah.
I don't know. You've been here for February, right? We've had an old-fashioned winter this
But
February.
then what was January and December? I mean, that's not winter, right?
Well, it just rained and it was horrible.
Sorry, that's a big misconception, though, about greenhouse gases and global warming. It's still going to get cold as fuck.
Yeah.
Where it gets cold.
That's why they've shifted from warming to change.
Nothing pisses me off more than when you see on social media, it's like, it's minus 24. What happened to that global warming? It's like, that's not how any of that fucking works.
I
It's
think
just extremes.
that's where the word, as you said, Gwen, about climate change is kind of more an appropriate term. And we're seeing more and more of that. If you're paying attention to what's happening in other parts of the world, it's definitely a shift in climate all over. So it's not just warming that we're seeing.
And then the other thing I believe we were speaking about before this was how, so many of these things are marked by agrarian.
Yeah. Agricultural.
Agriculture. And we're not primarily agrarian in general. But, I mean, go to a farmer's market. What is in when? Like, do we not eat?
Well, that's the thing is, like, we live in some sort of false bubble. And believe me, I love my black tea. I love coffee. I love things that will not grow here. But it has value to eat things in season. There's real value to connecting with the land and including, besides your coffee, you have something that actually is in season.
Yeah.
That is actually.
I mean, how much corn do we all eat in the second week of August? Because everywhere on side of the road, there's all this beautiful fresh corn that's just grown. And, what you can get, get a, certain fruits, like get a peach in winter, has to come from somewhere else. They don't taste great.
Tomatoes.
Tomatoes
don't taste great unless they're in season, really, unless they're locally in season.
I think the agrarian thing is very, very, very important. It's like, what did I see recently? Somebody, don't eat that off the tree. Those are apples on a tree because, you can't eat those apples. It's like, what are you talking about? Some foolish person.
Was that
was another social media thing. Well,
was that real?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There was a whole bunch of people.
I wasn't sure if that was satire.
Basically, there was these posts made by individuals who didn't understand
where their
food came from. Started with a lady who had bought a bag of lemons, and her friend had asked her, "Why the fuck do you buy lemons?" She's like, "Because I need the lemons for whatever." She's like, "You have a lemon tree out front. Why don't you just pick the lemons?" And she just assumed she couldn't eat those lemons. They weren't edible.
That they were ornamental.
Yeah, for whatever reason. And her friend had to explain to her, no, you can eat those. That's where lemons come from.
It really happens. I remember when Rain, my daughter, was very little, like 4 years old or something like that. And it was Christmas and we were eating goose because my family traditionally always had goose at Christmas. And she finally put together what that was on her plate with the actual animal. She's like 3 or 4 years old. She was so upset that she was eating.
Does she actually know geese? Because that's all they're good for.
That's right. Yeah. Goose.
Yeah. If anybody who knows a goose, you're with me, right?
It's like
it'll turn a vegan into a meat eater.
This chicken. You know what I mean? It's like, but they're like 3 years old, 4 years, and they really put 2 and 2 together. It's like, yes. See, when we were over there at Davy Bowlby's place and those chickens were running around. Yes, that's what this is. Well, she was just devastated. To understand, but people don't put it together.
I think it demonstrates a strong disconnect to our environment, and this is part of the reason why I was really attracted to witchcraft, paganism in particular, because it seemed that people at the time, and my entry point was the 90s, were really keen on environmentalism and getting back to the earth and like the earthship idea, Gaia hypothesis, all this stuff. So, kind of seeing this sense of reconnection to the land in which I live. And I'm a country dweller, right? I'm a bumpkin. So I'm very in tune with the seasons, and then kind of finding other people that are somewhat similar to me was very attractive.
And you live right on the ocean.
Mike
Yeah.
is
In a-
the best
in a
of both
fishing
worlds.
town,
He
yeah.
comes into an urban setting and works in a witchy store, and he drives out of an urban setting into a lovely rural on the ocean setting, very close to his own sweetgrass field, very close to all sorts of marine wonderful things that he collects. And you
And
may
how long of a drive is it? How far away are those two things from each other?
Depends. Am I allowed to talk about illegalities on here?
Oh, yeah, we do that.
If I'm doing the speed limit.
Distance-wise, not so much, but how long does it
Does it
take you
take
to
you?
drive?
If I'm reasonable, it's about 25 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like to have those two
have a commute of 25 minutes and have those two, be able to embody those two
environments.
environments is
Yes.
fabulous.
That's wonderful.
And it really is in my family too, because my whole family are fishermen.
Yeah.
So
And you
we-
live in a fishing village.
We understand,
town, yeah.
seasonality, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much a part of
So
the
we're back
culture.
to the calendar of the year, the wheel of
Yeah.
the year, the calendar. Like we're talking, like you eat. So everybody needs to be aware of the agricultural cycle. But I think even if you divorce it from all of that and just the wheel of the year as an abstract, we all need a reason to get together as community. So we have spiritual practices that are individual, but we have religious practices where we meet as community. And that's one of the meanings of religion, is to bring people together. And that's something we need. Even the introverts, I think Mike and I are the only introverts in the room. Like Marco's
You're
party
not
girl.
an introvert.
She crosses. Marco
I
really crosses
was
back and forth.
Huge introvert most of my life, like incredibly shy,
Which is why she's
incredibly
sympathetic to me.
quiet.
That's fair.
And I generally at a party, you will find Gwen, Eric, and I sitting in a corner watching everybody else.
And enjoying ourselves.
Yes. But
Or laughing at
It's-
me.
Yeah.
I have learned how to mask as an extrovert. I think, I think
Okay.
that's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
I have learned how to mask as an extrovert because of the work I do.
Mhm.
So that's where that
And
has
that's
come from.
that's you stepping
Yes.
up at the
Yes.
store.
Yeah.
I'm very much situational, like at the shop.
Yeah.
I'm in my element. So I'm very confident about what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for a number of years.
Yeah.
So I'm quite comfortable and I come off as an extrovert.
Yeah.
But take me to a party, particularly with people I don't know, or say highfalutin fancy to do, I'm going to be out of my element and just stumble over my words, sit in a corner and, eat some pie.
But there's nothing wrong with pie.
Not that we have anything against pot. That's
What
right.
you were saying about me not being an introvert, I am incredibly, incredibly shy. I am not modest. Those are two different things.
Those are
True,
very
true.
different.
I can do burlesque, but don't ask me to talk to a stranger
That's fair.
with my clothes on.
Outside of work.
Those are two very
And
different
we have
things.
video evidence of both of these things. So that's right.
But they are great times to get together. I find for myself, maybe because I am a bit more old school, that there's signposts through the year.
Exactly.
And they are like we were saying before you got here, Mike, like in bulk, like February can suck donkey butt here. But you know what? We've still gotten past the darkest hump of the year.
And it's
it's
giving
things to
us
look
that
forward
spark.
to.
It's the spark
Yeah.
of the coming of the next season.
That's
it's
right.
the first spark of that
Yeah.
season. And again, for those of us who struggle with winter and who left Winnipeg for a reason, the Wheel of the Year gave us the will to live. Big time.
Yeah.
Really. It's not even a joke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Before
Winnipeg,
I-
also known as Winterpeg.
Yes.
Winterpeg,
Before
yeah.
I found the Wheel of the Year, I did not know how I was going to do it
Yeah.
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah.
any longer, period.
Yeah.
So,
And it is, it's like, what's going on? Like, and, May Day is, the beginning of spring, in theory, it could rain for a month. And I usually don't like to camp in May, but once after summer solstice comes, it's like camping season's is here. Like,
That's it.
off we go. It's
Well,
gonna
and
be great.
that's kind of the funny, like we were talking about global warming and stuff. This weekend, they're calling for, say, like 50 centimeters.
Yeah, we've got a rain
Yeah, but
situation
it's rain,
occurring.
not snow.
Possible flooding.
And the problem is the ground is not thawed enough.
No,
to be
it's
able to-
frozen.
Frozen.
And there's
snow
snowbanks
runs
everywhere.
And
Yeah.
if on Sunday it gets even 0 degrees, we're going to be in a rock hard
and
skating
Imbolc
rink.
Part 2, version 2 is going to be canceled yet again.
Yes.
I mean, well, because all the snow is going to turn to blocks of ice. It's going to be igloos you can build your own igloo then.
Yeah.
And the roads will be
Now,
just
I think next
ice.
week, so it's supposed to be pretty warm. Like, I think one of the days is like plus 10.
Oh my goodness.
Which means we're going to get blizzards in
Wednesday
March.
and Friday, both plus 9. Monday, 3. Tuesday, 5. Yeah.
Margot's are speak American. So what's plus 10 in American, Margot? Do you know?
Oh, God.
Plus 10 in American would be like 45.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. But at night it could go below 0 and freeze everything.
Yes, of course.
Or below 32.
It probably
below
will.
32 for anyone in the U.S.
So I know this is sidebar. Like I'm just
Not that, we haven't 25.
not that we haven't entered. But Wheel of the Year, I got chickens for the first time last fall and they were not ready to lay. And people kept asking me because they came into laying age in October-ish, right? And well, the light's changing. I don't give them artificial light. They have a window, they have access to the outside that's totally safe, all of the things. But I don't artificially keep the lights on too long for them. We're going organic and or cheap, you choose. And they just started laying. They
so
just
excited.
started
I
laying.
saw their
So that means
Yes.
that laying is light activated. So that is another sign for me. That's, like I say, part of my garden, all of these things that reconnect me with the natural world, and being part of that chicken's life cycle is part of it. So yeah, it's spring here. My chickens are laying.
Your chickens are laying.
Nice.
It is on the way because
Yeah.
March is around the corner.
Yes.
And if nothing else, it's getting lighter and lighter. Even if it's cold or rainy or horrible, it's 10 after 6 and it's not dark.
Now you're driving home from work. On your average work day, is it now light when you get home?
It's starting to.
It's starting to get light. That's such a difference when you drive. And I do 12-hour shifts at the hospital. So I drive in the dark and I come home in the dark for so much of the year, right?
You're like a coal miner.
It's like, I feel like a coal miner. And I work interior hospital, which means no windows because patient care has windows. And so they should.
Yeah.
So I never know what's going on in the real world. But yeah, when it starts to get lighter and lighter, it's so much nicer to come home and in the daylight, right?
30 years ago, when I was a little younger and married and all of that,
Like
I
5
remember
or something.
we used to celebrate, my husband at the time and I, our first supper that we ate in the light.
Oh, that's an awesome. So
Yep,
we're talking about rituals and the Wheel of the Year and stuff. That doesn't mean you don't interject your own special markers.
we would celebrate. It's like, okay, look, we're going to eat in the light for the first time tonight. Let's have something special or take out or
fabulous.
get some wine
That's
or something like that.
Nice. I like that
ritual.
idea.
Eating
I like
in
that.
the light.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, marking the light. That's fabulous idea.
Maeve, I believe you had mentioned earlier about the wheel being a tool, which is a really interesting concept because for me, the Wheel of the Year has become less religious and more about anchoring my practice. It is a tool that anchors my practice. So things like herb collecting and wild crafting, when to go out and look for bones or when to get certain herbs or trees or barks is all closely tied to the Wheel of the Year
Because
and the
this-
different times a year.
Yeah, because the seasons are changing all the time, no matter what you do. So it's a great thing to help you do your wheel. The episode before this, we were talking about what's going on in our personal practice.
Personal practices.
So even just going out and collecting certain herbs, well, that's part of your personal practice. And even if you're not doing a whole grand ritual about it, you're doing it and you're following the Wheel of the Year all at the same time. Well, Mike, man, what great timing. You're popping right in here. This is excellent. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in. And if you have any comments or suggestions, you can contact us apparently on Instagram or our Facebook page. And certainly we are always looking for suggestions for shows. We're always glad to hear anything you may have to say.
Hello, beloved listeners and patrons of Three Witches and a Druid podcast. we would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support of our podcast. With your encouragement, we have been able to explore and celebrate the rich and diverse world of paganism and spirituality. We feel blessed to have had the opportunity to share our knowledge and experiences with you. As we continue to grow and evolve, we invite you to join us on this journey and become a Patreon member of our podcast. Your contribution will help us to continue creating quality content and provide you with more exciting episodes filled with wisdom, insights, and a little enchantment. By becoming a Patreon member, you will not only support our mission, but you will also have access to exclusive content, behind the scenes goodies, discounts, and much, much more. Together, we can create a thriving and supportive community. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for being a part of our 3 Witches and a Druid family.
And until next time, everybody, merry meet,
Merry part.
and merry meet again.
Blessed be.
This has been 3 Witches and a Druid podcast. Thanks for listening.